You are not broken, reclaiming the power after toxic love. Welcome back. I'm Angela Carter, IFS therapist and trauma specialist, and today we're talking about something you may not have been told often enough. You're not broken, not because of what you survived, not because of who hurt you, and not because of how long it's taken you to find yourself again. This episode is about reclaiming your power after toxic love, especially love that came wrapped in narcissistic patterns. You see, the aftermath of narcissistic abuse isn't just heartbreak. It's a rupture in identity, in trust, and in your relationship with your internal world. But that doesn't mean that you're damaged. It means you're human and healing. So let's talk about how you take back your power. Gently, radically, from the inside. Let's begin with some of those false beliefs that often take root after narcissistic relationships. A belief about I wasn't enough, or I must have been too sensitive, or it was my fault, or maybe I'm the problem, or if I had done more, they wouldn't have changed. But these beliefs are not your truth. They're the result of gaslighting. And they live in what we call the IFS exiled parts. These are the parts of you that carry shame, confusion, longing, and grief. And during the relationship, they were triggered again and again. But because the narcissistic system can't tolerate vulnerability, your needs were seen as attacks. Your boundaries were met with punishments, and your emotions became liabilities in their world. So what did your system do? Well, it adapted. It shut down. It overfunctioned. It made itself smaller in an effort to stay connected. And that's what toxic love does. It teaches you that disconnection is safety and that authenticity is dangerous. But here's the truth. What felt like love was actually survival. So what is power? How do we gain our power back? Well, power in the aftermath of toxic love is not about control. It's not about finally getting them to see your worth. It's not about cutting everyone off or building walls. True power is the ability to stay connected to yourself even when someone else disconnects from you. It's the courage to say no without explaining yourself. Saying yes to your needs without guilt, to walk away, not because you stopped caring, but because you started. It's about reclaiming when self is back in the lead, not over-functioning parts, not your wounded protectors, and not your exiles running the show. Your power is the energy of calm and clarity that says, I no longer need your permission to trust myself. But what does reclaiming power look like? Well, on a day-to-day basis, it really looks quite simple. Listening to the parts that once kept you stuck. The hopeful parts that still wonder if it could have worked. The caretaker part that feels guilty for putting you first. The critic that says, you're stupid, you should have left sooner. But again, as I keep saying, please don't silence these parts. Invite them in, lead them. Ask what they were afraid would happen if they let go. This is how we reclaim from the inside. We have to start noticing what doesn't feel like self. Start to track when you feel compelled to prove yourself, or ashamed for resting, or frantic about fixing or supporting others. Because these are protectors. Honor them, but also ask them, what am I really needing here? Because that question changes everything. And we have to be consistent. When we're on this journey of self-healing and self-leadership, we need to be consistent when we go inside. We're often taught to prioritize other people's needs or moods. Now, your power lies in not abandoning yourself to keep the peace. And that might look like taking a pause before replying, or saying I need time, or simply allowing yourself to not know yet. Power isn't force, it's presence. One of the things that comes up for lots of people following a narcissistic or toxic relationship is dignity. So let's speak to something sacred, our dignity. Narcissistic relationships often strip us of our dignity, but slowly, through criticism, comparison, coldness. You may have tolerated things you never thought you would. You may have begged for scraps of validation. You may have betrayed your own intuition to preserve a bond. And now shame whispers, "How could I have let that happen?" But let me tell you this. Every choice you made was an attempt to preserve connection, to avoid rejection, to stay emotionally safe. That's not weakness, my darling. That's survival. And you can lay down shame when you understand that. Your dignity is not gone. It's waiting for you beneath the rubble. It returns every time you say, "I no longer have to abandon myself to be loved." It's so important to remember that your wholeness was never lost. You were never broken. You were simply trying to survive love that felt unsafe. And now you're reclaiming something extraordinary, not the mask you wore in the relationship, not the performance that kept the peace, but the quiet, fierce, beautiful self that was there all along. In our next episode, we'll be exploring the inner revolution, walking with the parts that still want to go back, because healing isn't about never looking back. It's about not losing yourself when you do. If today's conversation spoke to you, please subscribe, comment, or share this with someone walking a similar path. And remember, every time you choose yourself, your system learns, I am safe, I am seen, I am enough.